Crime Curious is a true crime podcast that takes an in-depth look into real cases through the lens of a trained investigator and former prosecutor turned judge.
If you are sensitive to expletives, anatomical descriptions, and accurate descriptions of crime scenes, this podcast may not be suitable for you.
Have you or someone you love been a victim of a crime that's still unsolved? Crime Curious has teamed up with one of the top private investigation services in the Indiana and surrounding area. If you have listened to us long enough, you know that we do not seek out services or products that are meaningless to us or hold no real value. So you can trust us when we say that Corbett Investigations comes with decades of experience you won't find anyplace else. Corbett Investigations is run by a former homicide commander of one of the country's most successful homicide units, has put over 400 people in prison for homicide, handled over 1,100 death investigations, and solved 33 cold case murders. To be real with you, Mr. Corbett had a really difficult time telling us what we should highlight in this segment because he does not like to sound like he's bragging. Solving crimes has been his life's passion, and he has never done it for the accolades or recognition. He has a whole team behind his services that help him be so successful, as they specialize in things like blood stain analysis, ballistics, crime scene reconstruction, and forensic pathology, just to name a few. When you contact Corbett Investigations, you talk directly with Tim Corbett. He is hands-on with every case and can travel anywhere that's needed to get the job done. Corbett Investigations prides itself on honesty, truth, feet to the ground, real investigation work, and the strength to stand up to whatever is in the way of solving the crime. Corbett Investigations specializes in complex homicide cases, sex offenses, and criminal investigations that are old and new. Tim and his team have a reputation for finding witnesses and information that others could not. Although we hope none of our listeners ever need private investigation services, if you do, we recommend contacting Corbett Investigations and mention this segment on Crime Curious for a free consultation. Contact Tim Corbett today at 574-229-8115. You can also check them out on Facebook at Corbett Investigative Services, Inc., or their email, tim@tcorbett.org. That's tim@tcorbett.org. Thanks for listening, and now on to the show. Welcome to Crime Curious. I'm Charnell.
I'm Megan.
Megan, hi.
Charnell, hi.
I know, it's been so long.
It has. You recorded with Jason when you got back because I was at a conference, and now we're finally, the gang's all here.
We're
the
back
band
together.
is back together.
Feels so good.
It does.
This is better than the time that NSYNC got back together. Did they get back together?
No.
Did they break up?
Yeah, JT was like, I'm out of here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I'm
so
better
they
than all
weren't
y'all.
fully back together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll delete that.
It's okay.
I really
no,
thought
leave
they
it in.
got back together for a minute.
They might have broke up and they got back together, and then again,
And then really
JT
disseminated.
He was just a different level of hot than the rest of the boys in the band.
Amen. Still is.
Oh,
Yeah.
he is. He did bring sexy back. So there's that. We have gifts. So many gifts.
We do. And before we get started, we do need to shout out. Thank you to Katie. Thank you
to Ashley.
Thank you to Amber.
And thank you to
Sarah.
With
yes,
with our dormice.
The dormice. I picked the pink one.
I picked the black one.
It's blacky purple. I don't know.
Yes.
What color do you see there?
I don't know. I see purple like amethyst,
It's
on the
amethyst,
bottom.
yeah.
And it's kind of a mood mouse.
But Katie sent us a yodeling penis. I'm sorry,
A
pickle.
yodeling pickle.
A yodeling pickle.
I mean,
God.
it's phallic.
It is.
But Ashley,
awesome.
Ashley sent us the positive penis, a very, very soft, very anatomically correct crocheted penis called the positive penis.
You can tell what religion that penis is.
You
as a matter
can.
of fact.
You definitely can. He definitely had some matzo ball soup. It says, I may be a tiny penis, but I believe in you. Go do your thing.
Amazing.
And this doctor got carried away because he way over circumcised.
The knife was sharp. It was freshly sharpened, and they forgot to tell the doctor that.
It was.
It's also superbly soft, like almost realistically soft.
Oh,
even though it's crocheted.
I know.
I'm digging it.
And then Amber sent us a taste of New Mexico. So she says, thanks for all you do. She's been a Patreon for quite a while. She appreciates our research and says, I hope you enjoy some of my favorite things from the land of enchantment, which is New Mexico. And she does preface, not old Mexico.
Which is why I love her.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you so much.
And just so you know, we each have a salsa, and she sent coffee and lavender drinking chocolate, which is way intriguing, and then superfood creamer, cardamom, and vanilla. So there's
so
just
excited.
Fun treats from New Mexico, unexpected treats from New Mexico. Yes. If you ask me what
someone might
came
send
out of
from
New Mexico, none of these
agreed
would be
okay. Maybe the salsa.
Yeah.
But
true, fair.
No, the lavender drinking chocolate. I'm so excited to try that.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
And this weekend, Megan and I have a date planned to podcast like all day. So
maybe
we're going to try
weekend.
some of that stuff. Yeah, to get caught up. So just thank you so much. All of your gifts are so appreciated. And oh my gosh, put a huge smile on our face and warmth in our heart. So I'm very excited about my little dormouse here, and he's going to stand guard while we shake the rest of our gris-gris.
Yes, I have some bones.
Oh God.
No. Did you throw a penis?
I threw a penis. I'm sorry. Party foul. Now that will end a good time real quick.
You drop that thing on the floor, I'm running, first of all. If you open a sack and it hits the floor, I'm out. Because I can only take so much, and you take that however you want. You've legit lost it.
Somehow I threw it across the room.
Okay, I have Chaz, and then I also have the bones, which apparently Jason broke the sack with the other day.
You should have seen him. It was like it was his first time handling a bag of penis bones. I don't even know what to say.
I don't feel like he probably spends a significant amount of time touching other penis bones. Well, so we'll give him that.
He for sure has plenty of experience with his own. One would think he would know how to handle it, but
no pun intended.
Anyway, you ready to hear a weird ass crime story?
Yeah, give me weird. I need weird.
It is so weird. And as a judge, you can tell us where the crime is. I mean, I think a lot of us will know where the crime is, but it's creepy. I'm kind of.
Is this one of those like at what point has it become criminal kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I love this.
It is.
It's a word search for judges.
It's a word search for true crime advocates, too. Well, I also think advocates. That's not what I meant. Aficionados.
We are big advocates of crime. No, I knew what she meant.
Aficionados.
True crime researchers, aficionados.
Been a long day. And you know it is when I sing into the microphone words.
Every time Charnell the musical starts. Please don't stop listening. We're just happy to be back.
We are. We're a little slap happy because this is what happens when our energy mixes, and it's been too long.
It has.
All right. I'm going to get into the case now, so let's switch gears. But it's still lighthearted. Nobody dies. I'm not bringing you murder. I'm bringing you freaking weird and crimey.
Intriguing.
Very crimey, but no one dies to my knowledge. Okay.
This is like No One Dies in This Episode Part 2. Remember when you did No One Dies in This Episode?
Yes.
That's what you're bringing me.
Yes, exactly. And also, remember, I did this research in the hospital a little while ago. So if somebody ends up dying, I just simply forgot that before right now. But no, I'm just kidding. Nobody died. When Derek and Maria Broaddus, 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 finally bought their new home in Westfield, New Jersey, it had fulfilled an enduring adventure, like a aspiration of theirs.
This was a goal. They wanted to be homeowners and homestead and pay taxes.
And this is a big ass house. So they apparently wanted to do a lot of cleaning.
Like one of them big old Victorians.
Oh yeah. It's
like our friend from Virginia bought, even though she lives in it by herself and it's basically haunted.
Yes.
Okay. Just clarifying.
Yes. 6 bedrooms. Yes. All right. It's located at 657 Boulevard. And it had like like it needed renovations, but it was not in bad shape. Like when I say needed renovations, I mean like there was just some updating. Okay. The outside, gorgeous house, right? So here Maria and Derek are buying the house of their dreams. They have fulfilled, and this was not a cheap house. Okay. So they had obviously worked very hard for what they had in life. Okay. On the evening of June 2014, so this was 10 years ago, just 3 days after signing for the house, the couple were finishing an evening of painting when Derek went outside to check for mail. There was little mail, but there was a curious white card-shaped envelope.
Oh, no. It wasn't an invitation, was it?
They were not being welcomed into the neighborhood. No, it was not for a 3-year-old's birthday party. Okay. Let's just say that. In thick handwriting, it was addressed to, quote, the new owner, end quote. And inside was a typed note. It began innocently enough with the words, quote, dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood, end quote. So that's how it starts. But this warm welcome and acceptance into the community meant everything to Mr. and Mr. Derek and Mrs. Maria, all right? Because I'm not really sure how to say their last name. It might be Broaddus, I don't know. So they worked hard. They were super excited to get this like seemingly innocent welcoming. Their house was $1.3 million, if I hadn't said that yet.
Some bitch. You just said it wasn't cheap.
It wasn't. It was 1.3 mil. And so in a neighborhood that has a house worth 1.3 million and you've got a letter that starts, dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood.
As a fan of Bridgerton, I do know that when something starts like dear gentle reader, it may not end well for you. You might be
there.
Snarked about.
All of a sudden, the next line is, how did you end up here?
It's a little pushy.
Did 657 Boulevard call you with its force within?
Oh, no.
Then it goes on to say, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched it in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard?
This gave me fucking goosebumps.
Why are you here? I will find out.
Yes. Okay.
End quote.
This is how a bad haunted House on Haunted Hill starts this way.
Does it?
No.
I'm like, I have no idea. I don't watch it.
Them. But yes, I mean, haunted house things are fucking scary.
It is. It absolutely is. Do you know what lies within the walls of 657?
I hope spray foam insulation so I don't have to pay for it later.
Absolutely. And so I stay warm and my heat bills are cut in half because this house is a massive 1.3 6-bedroom home.
110 years old, so you know it's drafty.
Of course. Yes. And now we have to fill these bedrooms and it was, a cool $1.3 million. So I need some insulation to put some warmth back into my pocket.
So part of you thinks when you get a letter like this, oh, ha, 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 right? Somebody's trying to be funny.
Well, it's very obvious that whoever wrote this has indeed been very close and keeping an eye on the house because it goes on to say, quote, I see already that you have flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so that you can destroy the house as it was supposed to be. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
You're making the house unhappy.
Bad move, the letter said.
Jesus.
You don't want to make 657 Boulevard unhappy. End quote. The letter writer also seemed to know that the couple were not alone, as it carried on to say, quote, you have children. I have seen them. So far, I think there are 3 that I have counted. More on the way. Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me.
No.
Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children?
Jesus.
Then it said, once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. And then it even made reference to the fact that the author could be anyone in the neighborhood by carrying on to say there are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Look out any of the many windows in 657 Boulevard at all the people who stroll by each day. Maybe I am one. Then it concluded to say, welcome, my friends, welcome. Let the party begin. And then it was signed The Watcher.
I know this story.
You do?
They made a movie.
I am sure of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me show you.
I mean, I don't know the whole
house.
story, but I know
That's
the story.
That's a pretty house.
I swear to God, there was something about this on either Netflix or something like that, or it was based off of something.
I think so.
But I don't know the full story. I have only briefly seen things come up.
But I also do think that I make reference to that. I didn't watch anything that was based upon this case.
I might watch it now, but I want to hear the actual story first.
Yeah. I think
it's like your Jeepers Creepers one.
It is. Yeah. Yes. I do know. I am vaguely remembering. I think that there is something either on Netflix, but I do think I get to it. So we'll come back to that.
The Watcher. In fact, I think that's what it's called.
It might be. I agree. We'll get to it later.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about the haunted house.
So
you are so right up my alley right now. You know, I love this.
I love this shit.
I love supernatural. I love vampires. I love
welcome us all back.
The creeper in me totally wants it to be the house itself writing the letters. I don't want there to be an asshole human out here who's been watching the house for centuries, jealous because his family can't afford it or something. I want it to be the house.
It's the actual house.
It's the house.
Yes, they're using breaking off wood from the broomstick and penciling in.
Right. Every time a kid walks in a bedroom, the house goes, yum. It's eating them.
As it closes the door.
The people. Okay, don't mind me. Just sitting here stroking a dormouse.
And being super creepy.
A crystal dormouse.
Right. Not one that she conjured herself. So Derek Broaddus immediately called the Westfield Police Department. When the officer was shown the letter, he said, "What the fuck is this?"
No kidding. Thank you. Now I know this is true.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what a police officer would say.
100%. Also, that's what I would have said. By being creeped out and looking. Would you immediately start looking over your shoulder and looking around as you're reading that letter?
I think that you know me as a human and also my family. And I would not only have searched my entire house, there would be implements around my house.
Yeah, definitely.
There would be security everywhere. I might be perched on a window waiting for somebody to come up there so I could have a strong-worded conversation with them.
Right. Let's you and me talk.
Right. Quietly here in my basement.
Right. Well, so here this police officer is like, okay, so there's not a whole lot I can do except try to be preventative and try to offer some safety things. And that's what he does for Derek. He's like, here's some ways to be smart about keeping your family safe in your home, especially when you know you might possibly have a stalker, something like that. He also talked with Maria. And Maria, they had not moved into the home at this point in time. When this first letter shows up, they didn't live there. They were just there a lot doing renovations. So the police officer actually met Maria at their old home where they were still residing and showed her the letter. And because the letter makes reference to the previous owners of 657 Boulevard.
Where are they?
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it. And so we do get to more of that. Something I want to point out, though, I don't like the numbers. The numerologist in me does not like the fact that it's 657. The 5 is interrupting the flow of the fact that it should say 567. Yeah, it is a weird number. Like the 657 is just very odd, and I don't like how the energy of it feels. But anyway, so the detective said that, they're looking at the quote, like, I asked the Woods to bring me young blood, and it looks like they listened. The Woods are the previous owners.
Oh, so when they're saying the Woods, I kept thinking trees, forest, the woods.
Right. No. that's how I read it in the beginning too.
The
but
woods are the
previous owner are the woods. And so, Maria is looking at this like as the police are talking to her and it's making that one line that makes reference to the previous owner. She's like, I'm sorry, are they in on this?
Yeah.
Is this some sort of, prank that way? So they contacted John and Andrea Woods to ask if they had any idea who the watcher might be, if, things like that. And Andrea Woods told them that a few days prior to moving out, they had received a similar letter.
But that's the first time?
That's what they claim.
They're liars.
That's what they claim. I know. I question that too.
This house and its stalker / self-appointed caretaker has probably been doing this to every owner that's ever been there.
In the letter, he makes reference to his grandfather doing it in the 20s, his father doing it in the 60s, and now he or she has to take it over, right? So the Woods tell the Derek and Maria and the police that, they considered the similar note very odd, but as it did make mention of the watcher's family observing the house over a period of time, but they claimed that in the previous 23 years of living in the house, they had never received anything like this before.
Do they have children, the Woods?
I'm not sure. I am not sure. I know.
Interesting.
But it's hard to know. Like, 23 years is a long time if they were receiving letters like this to live that way. So it's odd. Maybe they really didn't until the very end.
And whoever the watcher was fine with the Woods having the place. Maybe they approved of the caretakers of the home or of the residents of the home. And now that they've sold it to these miscreants, these breeders, these people with children. The breeders
who are renovating, they're immediately renovating and making changes to the house. But also maybe maybe this is the first time it's changed hands since this person has become the watcher.
Fair.
So they were accustomed to the Woods, but now angry at the Woods for selling, because it's odd timing if you believe what Mr. and Mrs. Woods are saying. I think they're named John and Andrea.
Or, hear me out.
Okay.
Maybe it's really the house and it's really happy to have children in it now.
Maybe. It just wants to eat children.
It wants the fresh blood.
I don't know. And hear me out. Yes. When I go crazy like that, you say, okay, Charnell, you're challenging my beliefs, but I will consider that. So I think...
Well, I didn't say believed any of it. I just love the idea of it.
Right. True. I don't think that we should rule it out as a possibility. How's that?
If I have the option at some point to come back and haunt a house, I might choose it.
Okay. Yeah,
okay. Just so
fair.
you know.
That's fair. So Detective Leonard Lugo met with the Broaddus family and advised them not to tell anyone about the letters, not even any of their new neighbors, as potentially any one of them could be a possible suspect.
Okay.
Good advice. And so now, of course, it makes Derek and Maria really suspicious of everyone. They think anyone is possibly the watcher, anyone who drives by, anyone who walks by, anyone that they see looking out their own windows towards the house, right? Rightfully so.
Yeah.
I think we'd all feel that way. So Derek was actually giving a tour of the renovation to a couple from the neighborhood, and the wife said, quote, "It'll be nice to have some young blood in the neighborhood," end quote.
Oh, shit.
So 2 weeks after the first letter arrived, right? Like everything people are saying.
It all tips you off.
Sure does. Because that was a long letter.
Well, anybody being neighborly now is a suspect.
Yes, for sure. I see you have children.
Yeah.
What are their names? How many do you have?
They instantly hate everyone in their neighborhood.
Yep. Normal conversations to have, and you're automatically going to make them a suspect, right? 2 weeks after the first letter arrived.
So like our actual lives?
Yes.
Everyone I meet is a suspect, Charnell.
That's a good point.
It takes a long time for them to talk themselves out. They have been convicted even in their innocence until they prove themselves.
Until worthy of being a friend.
It is the opposite of the criminal justice system here. You are guilty until proven innocent.
Yes. There you go. So anyway, 2 weeks after the first letter arrived, Maria stopped by the house to pick up some mail again, and she soon recognized the thick black lettering on a card-shaped envelope and called the police. This one said, quote, "Welcome again to your new home at 657 Boulevard. The workers have been busy, and I've been watching you unload carfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what is in the walls yet? In time they will." Then, they actually the watcher misspelled their names to say Mr. and Mrs. Broaddus, but they spelled it wrong. But in this letter, they named by name some of the children.
Okay.
And identified them in order of their birth and by their nicknames.
Uh-huh.
And it said,
this is somebody close.
I wonder, it said, quote, I am pleased to know your names now and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. You certainly say their names often. The letter singled out one child in particular, whom the writer claims to have seen using an easel inside the enclosed porch. Is she the artist in the family? The writer or the watcher asked. Then it went on to say, 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It's been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream.
Jesus.
Right? Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All of the windows and the doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the watcher and have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move on and kindly sold it when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are too, Broaddus family. The writer ended the letter with, welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought the past 3 families to 657 Boulevard, and now it's brought you to me. Have a happy moving day. You know I will be watching. End quote. That was full of a lot
Much
of information. They've been watching for the better part of 2 decades now, which tells us that the Woods family, who lived there for 23 years prior. Okay. So when you had said like before, it says right here in this letter that it's been a long time since there's been young blood. Right? Like, I don't think that the Woods living there for 23 years weren't necessarily raising their children there.
Okay. So investigation wise, as soon as I saw that in the mailbox, knowing what it was, I wouldn't touch it. And I would hope that the police would have taken it into evidence before it was open and like dusted it for fingerprints, DNA type stuff on the letter itself and the envelope. And if it was sealed, saliva, because this is 2014. This is only 10 years ago. We had some pretty advanced tech.
Yes.
2, it keeps referring to the damn walls.
Uh-huh.
And at what point in time are you going to bring somebody in potentially to see
to do a sweep?
Yes. Yeah. What's behind the walls? Is there access to the inside of the walls? Mm-hmm. Can they do some type of an X-ray or something like they do with old houses or with like archaeological sites? Because I'm going to be really mad if there's a human skeleton in there, right?
Right. Or like how it said that the doors, he'll know or she'll know, whoever, what bedroom they're in because the windows and the doors allow me to watch and track you. Is there something on those? Like, is there, there's some things that are being given away here and like things that kind of show you to the mindset. Welcome to the product of your greed. Right?
Yeah.
This person has...
Well, to me, that is a very judgmental statement that indicates jealousy there, knowing the amount that it clearly sold for. I'm also incredibly concerned that he or she indicates, or it indicates that it told the Woods to sell the home.
Yes. Well, that to me is concerning because looking at it from a buyer's perspective... So
disclosures,
right?
Your sister's a real estate agent,
right? You did not disclose
pissed
this.
At her.
Yes,
yeah.
You acknowledged that you received at least one letter 3 weeks before selling. You did not disclose this, and now this writer is saying that the Woods sold when I asked them to. When I told them to. Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, that is like. Excuse me, we have some disclosure issues here and they shouldn't necessarily be on the hook for the sale. We'll get to that. But
if this person is indicating all of this newfound knowledge about the family, the order of ages with the kids, very particular things about the artist with the easel and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Naming the children
and
their nicknames and birth order.
This is someone who has gained access to the home.
I think so.
They are they have a hidey hole. They have a spot in the house where they're able to observe and come and go as they please.
Or they have it tapped.
Or they have it tapped. But if the watcher has been watching the house since the 1920s, clearly there wasn't a way to observe then, which brings me back to the walls and what we're going to find in it. And I love this story.
So the couple, Mr. Derek and Maria actually stopped taking their kids to the new house, and they take a whole pause on whether or not they should even move into this.
Like just resell it?
Yes. 3 weeks later, a third letter arrived that said, "Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you." When they bought the house, it was pretty much the grandest home on the block, okay? It's a very nice neighborhood, but this is clearly like the nicest house.
It's like the mansion on the corner.
It is.
Sometimes it looks in disrepair, then it gets fixed up depending on the owner, and it's the staple in the neighborhood.
And clearly you have a stable income. If you're affording a $1.3 million home,
I would assume
you're well-to-do.
Or you got a
You're
hell of
doing
an
better than
inheritance.
most. Right. After placing the house on the market, the Woods said that they received multiple offers above their asking price. This initially led the Broadduses, right, Derek and Maria, to suspect that the watcher might be someone upset over missing out on buying the house.
Okay.
But
good evidentiary idea to go and check out all the people who had made offers.
Yeah. However, the Woods said they went ahead and told them, "We didn't encounter any buyer competition. There wasn't like a bid battle at all. It was just truly they accepted the Broaddus's, offer. It was the best offer.
It was the highest.
That's
bid.
all. But Andrea Woods shared that she maybe thought that the watcher might be someone in the neighborhood. This seemed most plausible because of the renovations that were done internally. There was nothing done externally. So obviously you can look at the construction stuff in the driveway and watch people take stuff in and out and no construction is being done without seeing it, right? But you'd really have to be in the neighborhood to be watching that closely, right?
And how well can you actually see through the windows and such to see every unique thing that's being done inside the home? Who is coming and going from the home, even before they moved there?
Yeah, well, I was suspicious that is it a contractor?
Yeah.
Who's literally in the home.
Or the postman or a former housekeeper, cleaning ladies. Somebody with a $1.5 million house with 6 bedrooms or 9 bedrooms.
6.
Sorry. They're going to have somebody helping clean this place.
For sure.
So there are probably plenty of people with access.
I think there's multiple possibilities for suspects, right?
Plumbers, electricians.
Detective Lungo was shown the easel on the porch, which was mentioned by the letter in the watcher. However, the detective made note that this was actually hidden from the street by vegetation, making it difficult to see unless someone was right next door or behind the house. So,
okay.
Now that narrows things. That's good detective work.
Yes.
Okay. So Derek the owner was eventually told by another neighbor about the Lanfords. The matriarch of the family, Peggy Lanford, was in her 90s, and several of her adult children, all of them in their 60s, lived in the same house together. They were described as being odd but harmless, said one neighbor, John Schmidt, who described one of the younger Lanfords, whose name was Michael Lanford. He was out of work and had a beard like Ernest Hemingway and was kind of like a Boo Radley character.
Okay. You're giving me some To Kill a Mockingbird, which I appreciate.
So for them, the Langford seemed, like the obvious suspects. The Langford house was right to be able, like it was to the right, like they could see the easel on the porch. Okay.
Okay.
And the family had lived there since the 1960s, around the same time that the first letter mentioned the watcher's father had begun observing 657 Boulevard.
Okay. But technically it's been being observed since the 20s.
According
However,
to the letter.
It does make it easier to be a watcher if one moves in next door
Yes.
to a more affordable home.
Yes. Now, the police, so Derek hears this from another neighbor. So for Derek, he's like, okay, these are suspects. But the police had already considered them as a suspect because
Oh, they canvassed, right?
1 week after the first letter, Michael Langford was brought in for questioning. He denied knowing anything about the letters, but Detective Lungo at the time was unconvinced. However, without evidence, there is little the police could do. And frustrated at this, the Broadduses started their own investigation. So they employed a private investigator who ran background checks on the Langfords, but really there was nothing that, was a smoking gun in their background check, right?
Right.
The detectives also moved to several former FBI agents who offered their own insights. Okay.
So they bring the
I'm
FBI
sorry.
in.
I said the detectives. That's not what I meant. I meant the Broadduses.
They go to the
They
FBI.
go to former FBI agents. Yep. One said that he believed the letters contained several old-fashioned tics that pointed to an older writer, as well as a surprising lack of profanity, also pointing to an older writer. Remember, the Langfords are in her kids are in her 60s. The matriarch is in her 90s.
Clearly, he never read the Bridgerton novels by Julia Quinn.
Right.
Clearly.
I think
that was a young woman who everyone thought was an old broad.
Yep.
So.
Yep. It was the opinion of one former FBI agent that the watcher was upset by the prospect of new people moving into the neighborhood, asking in one of the letters, "Are you one of those Hoboken transplants who are ruining Westfield?"
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So there's another clue.
Yeah, that was in one of the
You
letters.
don't like transplants.
No.
You're greedy, probably because of how much you paid for the home.
Yep. Well, and
You're bringing in children here around us, and we're old, and we don't like children. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Well, and it also speaks to the house because that one letter said, quote, "The house is crying from all the pain it's going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history," end quote. It cries for the, and this is starting another quote, "It cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard. When I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father. But he kept watching until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again." So there's a lot of clues in that.
Did he make it sound like at some point when his dad was the watcher, he actually roamed the halls of the actual house? Like he may have been invited in as a young child?
Yeah, this person does say it cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 when I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants there. You know what that says to me? I think that is Help. The Help. It's the 1960s. This is a child who I think whose parents, father or mother, were some of the caretakers of this house. And they were.
In the alternative, there was a creeper back in the 60s and he brought his kid to work. Bring your kid to work day. We're going to come creep around through the hallways and in the walls and scare this family. That I get more of the impression that he was allowed to be there with a caretaker, or even that his dad was the watcher, but maybe he was the young kid. And in the 60s, it would be normal for the cool old people in the big house to be like, yeah, you guys can play inside and let kids run around. We went in people's houses when we were kids.
Well, how about...
We didn't think about all the weird, creepy things that can happen.
How about this, Megan? How about a family that is so wealthy that they have multiple houses, and so they do hire a caretaker to watch 100%. The house and care for the house when they're not there on their family vacations?
Or at their regular house.
Yeah. Right. That's what I mean. Like if they're using this, if this is like more of their vacation home, whatever.
Okay.
Right. And so that kind of speaks to me. Like perhaps grandpa started in the 1920s being the caretaker of this mansion, what would have been a mansion back then. Okay. And then it was just passed down through the families, whatever. And so then his son started being the caretaker. And now we've grown by 2014, we've grown away from the need of houses to have, those types of caretakers, at least in this neighborhood, whatever. And so now this watcher it can't be in it anymore.
You know what I would have done if I was the Broadduses? Put out an ad for a caretaker or a housekeeper and just see who responds.
Just see, what do we got? What do we got? So Derek compiled a map of each of the 657 Boulevard's neighbors and when they had moved to the neighborhood. Of everyone, the Langfords were the only ones who had been there since the 1960s. And additionally, only their home was close enough to observe as intently as the watcher has described. Disregarding any other potential suspects, the focus remained on the Langfords. The Broadduses sent them a letter announcing plans to tear down the house, hoping to prompt a response, but there was no response. Michael Langford was taken in for questioning a second time by Detective Lungo, but this went nowhere. His sister Abby accused the Westfield police of harassing her family. At a meeting between the Broadduses and the Langfords, the atmosphere grew tense, and confronted with evidence, the Langfords insisted that Michael was innocent. By the end of 2014, the police investigation had stalled. There was little evidence, with the watcher leaving no fingerprints, no digital trail, and no clues as to their identity. Still, other suspects emerged, as it seemed the watcher could be anyone. The couple who lived behind 657 Boulevard kept a pair of lawn chairs close to the Broaddus' property. So, in one of the letters, it said, "One day I was looking out the window and I saw this older guy sitting in one of the chairs." I'm sorry.
But that was the back of the property.
Hold on. That was not in one of the letters. I accidentally put my letter font the same as a quote from a man. So
gotcha.
One of the house painters named Bill Woodward, he actually said one day he was looking out the window, saw this older guy sitting in one of the chairs. He wasn't facing his house, he was facing the Broaddus' house. So of course he's a house painter, so he made note of this, and that is my bad for not color coding what I made it look exactly like my same font that I had the letters in. Despite fitting the house with a new alarm system, the couple felt that they could never really let their guard down or even allow their children to play safely outside. And Maria decided, we are not going to put our children in harm's way. And I totally get that.
Yeah, so she's not going to move into this place.
No.
It's $1.5 million home that they're paying for.
I know. Another letter arrived, and it seemed the watcher was growing more and more unhinged with their obsession. It said, quote, 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It is coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? It used to be my friend, and now it's my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for this to pass and for you to bring the young blood back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let it alone. You are despised by the house. And the watcher won. So, end quote.
That was very bipolar.
I agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. It went all over the dang place.
It was angry that the house hates it, and then at the end, it's like, and the house hates you, and it won.
For sure, and I've won.
I don't. Yeah. What did you win?
Yep.
You have a gold star now.
And the poor Broadduses, they'd now sold their previous home. They were stuck in a contract, sold their previous home, but they're unwilling to move into this one. So they moved into Maria's parents' house instead. And within 6 months of the letters arriving, they decided to sell the house. So
they never moved into it.
No, they did not. Nope. And they actually owned why it was empty. Okay. So they had very little interest in any buyers.
They're like, I'm selling you a haunted house.
Yes.
I'm selling you a house that some creeper is obsessed with.
And when someone did view the property and make an offer, letters would show up and they were scared away by the letters.
Make it a bed and breakfast and advertise it as a haunted Airbnb.
Right?
It'd be booked all the time.
The watcher also had an effect on other residents in Westfield. Many people were scared by the idea of a boogeyman stalking the neighborhood, And the mayor had to actually assure the public that the watcher had not been heard from in a year and that the police investigation was still ongoing. But the Langfords were still a person of interest. However, especially because Michael Langford had been diagnosed as schizophrenic as a young man.
You just keep telling me things that point to the Langfords, Charnell.
I know. However, those who knew him didn't think he was actually physically capable of writing the letters with the sophistication that it had.
Oh, I thought you were going to say didn't think he was capable of being violent or something. And I was like, every interview with a murderer we've ever heard.
No,
they don't believe he was sophisticated enough to be writing the threats.
Correct.
The letters.
Yep,
the eloquent letters.
Yes. And there were only 3 grammar mistakes. I mean, truly, they were well written. So I maybe I can kind of understand that. And I'm so sorry if you guys heard that pop.
She's nervously popping bubble wrap, which is one of the best stress reliefs ever.
It is. I've got to switch tactics. I was rubbing the bubble wrap in the mouse, and now I'm just going to grab the sack. And
it does make a noise.
So what the Broadduses did not know was that the investigators had actually conducted a DNA analysis on one of the envelopes.
Thank you.
And it was determined that the DNA belonged to a woman.
Okay.
So instead of Michael Langford, who was diagnosed schizophrenic, they start looking closely at Abby, Michael's sister, Abby Langford.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, the matriarch of the family is still alive. This
sure
whole
is.
family can be in on this all together.
Definitely.
One writing the letters, one being a creeper, one gaining access to the walls.
I agree. Investigators actually obtained Abby's DNA from a discarded bottle, and the sample was not a match.
Son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. I'm going with the matriarch. We need grandma's dentures. We got to test them.
I don't know that they ever do that. But the Broadduses are really disheartened when they are told by the police that the Langfords were ruled out as suspects.
Oh, I don't think they are.
I don't know if they ever got
been.
Grandma's DNA. If they did, and that's a part of the investigation, I couldn't find that information. But it seems like if I could find the information that Abby's DNA, discarded DNA, had been tested, if they really did, test Grandma's, it seems like that information would have been available too.
There would have been a link. I mean, depending on how in depth the DNA analysis was, to say, "Ooh, it's not Abby," but "Ooh, it could be a relative of hers," based off of how the sequencing is.
Okay,
but I don't know.
That's why they ruled them out. Then I don't know, but we know it's a woman. Yeah. Okay. So the Broadduses were now locked in a legal fight against 657 Boulevard's former owners, the Woods. On June 2nd, 2015, a year after buying the house, they filed a legal complaint against the Woods, arguing that the couple should have disclosed the letter. Many different theories began to circulate about the whole affair. Some people thought the watcher had been created by the Broadduses as a part of some kind of insurance fraud, or perhaps they were angling for a movie deal to emerge from the whole story. Now, the Broadduses did receive some offers, but they turned them down. Lifetime did eventually, it was Lifetime, not Netflix.
Okay.
I thought we got to it eventually, but Lifetime did eventually release a movie called The Watcher.
Yes.
However, the couple attempted to shut it down with a cease and desist letter, arguing that the couple in its movie was biracial and the letters were signed the Raven. Okay. So, it just, in other words, the Broadduses were trying to get the movie shut down, and Lifetime was like, no, this isn't really about you because this couple's biracial and the letters are signed the Raven, not the Watcher.
Oh, Lifetime. I expected more from you.
So
I want lumberjacks at Christmas, you bastards.
Right? Not the Raven.
Oh my God. But they called it The Watcher.
They did.
The movie was called The Watcher.
Called The Watcher.
I swear.
But the letters are signed The Raven, and it's a biracial couple, so it can't possibly be
you.
The Broadduses.
Jesus criminy,
right?
Lifetime. So clearly they didn't win the cease and desist because it was released because it struck a chord with me. I wonder if it's the movie I'm thinking of where was there a resolution? It was actually somebody in the walls, or maybe I'm just thinking of a horror movie.
I think you might be writing a horror movie.
Well, I watched a lot of horror growing up, but I'm pretty positive my mom scarred me for life because I think I watched a movie called The People Under the Stairs.
Oh, yeah. I do know that one.
Yep,
Not to be confused with The Borrowers, are about
They're
little
adorable.
people.
The Borrowers is different.
I loved The Borrowers.
Yeah. Or
they also lived
or a
under the
scarier version of a children's novel, The House with a Clock in Its Walls, right? You've probably seen or heard of that, but you probably didn't watch The People Under the Stairs.
Sure didn't. No.
Cool.
The family soon became outcasts within the community, with many Westfield residents worrying about the impact the case may have on the value of their own properties, not to mention the negative press the whole affair was bringing to their neighborhood. And I do get that.
Property values plummeted.
It did. And the Broadduses still own this. Okay. Like
10 years later?
They couldn't, no, I'm saying they couldn't sell it.
At the time that the suit happened.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so they're selling for a violation of non-disclosure in a sales contract. And
in the spring of 2016, they put the house back on the market, but soon realized that every time a potential buyer showed interest, they always backed out upon reading the letters. And Derek recalled some cocky guy from Staten Island said, "Fuck it, I'm going to get a house at a discount." He reads the letters and then we never hear from him again.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not bargaining on that one.
Yep.
No letters ever got sent again after they put the house up for sale?
No, but they were disclosing them. They were being
of course they were
decent human beings and disclosing it so that they wouldn't get sued later, right? They decided to sell the house to a developer, hoping to get $1 million for the sale of the lot. But these plans were stopped when other residents objected to the idea, and eventually the planning board unanimously rejected the proposal. So eventually the Broadduses were able to rent the property to another family. And one day when Derek went to 657 Boulevard, he was handed an envelope by a renter, and it began, "Violent winds and bitter cold to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife Maria." It had been almost 2.5 years since the first Watcher letter appeared, and it had now once again emerged from nowhere. You wonder, excuse me, that was bad. My bad, guys. You wonder who the Watcher is? Turn around, idiots, the letter read. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the Watcher could be. Or maybe, do you know and are too scared to tell anyone? Good move. I watched as you watched from the dark house in an attempt to find me. Telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions. And which did happen. Derek did do that.
Yeah.
They did watch him in the dark, in the house, try to look out the window and see who was, like, that's creepy. That is creepy. But he was watching them try to watch them.
Yep.
The watchee becomes the watcher. Or however that's said.
I love it. That's it.
657, this is still a quote. 657 Boulevard survived your attempted assault and stood strong with its army of supporters barricading its gates. My soldiers of the Boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher.
This is an egotistical dick,
oh,
man.
God, it's so bad. The police investigation.
Someone has a very small penis.
It's a woman. The DNA shows
so
that
real
it's
small.
Super tiny. Some might say non-existent.
I love you, but also I still think this is a whole family.
Very
it
possible.
Can't be the house itself being haunted in my dream. It is a
has
whole
to be a
family.
whole family.
Yeah, I think multiple people are in on it, and they've given us plenty of clues to that.
And they continue to pass these letters to the police, and the police continue to tell them there's really not anything that we can say. The old man who had been sitting in the lawn chair looking at their house had lived there with his elderly wife for the past 47 years.
Watching?
And the Broadduses learned one of their kids had married a man who grew up in 657 Boulevard. So the old man who was watching the house, one of their kids, their daughters, married a man who grew up at 657 Boulevard. So they're like, okay, is that
Are they still around?
Right.
Does her DNA match on the envelope?
The story of the Watcher was first brought to the attention of the public through Reeves Widman's 2018 article for the New York's The Cut. It was from this reporting that all subsequent adaptations have been loosely based upon, and it's similar in nature to the cases of the Circleville writer and the poet. The case has been made into a series show by Netflix. I had forgotten this part. Sorry, guys.
I remembered this part.
In October 2022.
I'm going to watch it.
This highly scrutinized account is likely to offer little to no conclusion
Never mind.
of the story. Except to introduce a new audience to the plight of the owners of 657 Boulevard. So that's, yeah, it's an adaptation. It is an interesting story. It's a story that you could go, to all different possibilities with, because the fact of the matter is there is no conclusion. We do not know to this day who the watcher is.
The whole town in on it. Is this like a Stepford Wives kind of thing?
Well,
like the whole town's in on it. Everybody's the watcher. The cops are in on it too.
Oh my God.
I'm writing my novel based off of this.
There you go.
I'm going to ask for permission though, because I don't want to get a cease and desist letter. They make me feel bad, especially if it's black writing and a white envelope left in my mailbox.
Specifically, very specifically, I don't want that. It does say that one of the last letters said, "My soldiers of the boulevard followed my orders to a T. They carried out their mission and saved the soul of 657 Boulevard with my orders. All hail the Watcher. All hail the Watcher." How do you think that they really said that in their mind?
Bulldoze that house.
Oh, absolutely. You're out the money anyway, guys.
Well, mostly I'm indicating I would have lost my mind. And been like, "Oh, you want to play that game, Mr. Watcher?"
Don't you think that would have
Call me the Destroyer.
made them? Actually, I would like to leave them a letter.
Right?
That's what my passive-aggressive ass would have done, is wrote them a letter and stood out there and like, "Please, hey, got this letter for you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to set it here on the curb. You can pick it up at your convenience."
I'm going out there in a bikini and high heels, and I'm going to start painting that house the weirdest colors ever. I'm going to paint it black, and then I'm going to grab a piece of the paneling off the porch, and I'm going to look behind my shoulder and rip it off and throw it in the yard.
It's crying. It's the wallpaper. Just put little shreds of wallpaper on. The tears of the house. Jesus. Let them haunt you.
And now all I can think of is the cartoon Monster House.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I liked that one. Yeah. Isn't that bizarre? There's a crime, right? Is this a crime?
It's stalking.
Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah. It felt crimey. No, it's not okay.
It's clearly stalking by most states' definitions, because stalking can be, in writing as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Clearly somebody's being put in fear or risk of harm, or in some stalking statutes actually don't even need to be a reasonable person feeling risk of harm. It can actually be feeling threatened, annoyed, harassed, all of those things, which the owners clearly were. You know what the worst part though is of this huge crime is that stalking type behavior, probably a 1-year misdemeanor at the most.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
But I just believe that this person was actually gaining access to the house, in which case it's a home invasion, and it's very felony level. And depending on what their intent is when they're inside, I want to know why no one ever looked inside the walls. Now, yes, it could be a proverbial, the things that they've seen inside these walls kind of thing. But did anybody take it literally and look inside the walls?
They were doing renovations. So I don't know if that included knocking down some walls or at least re-drywalling and whatnot.
Yeah.
But not that I could find.
Okay.
But they were just very upset at all the renovations that were happening inside it as well. But I know, what if there's somebody in the neighborhood that knows all about the crimey shit that's, happened? And
in terms of psychologically speaking, and I hope psychologists have analyzed these letters at some point, I feel like the Watcher really wanted them to move in.
They absolutely did.
And
this
I wonder
is a
how
mentally
long,
disturbed person. Yeah.
I wonder how long the letters would have continued, though, or even if they would have.
Do you think that the Woods started to get these letters and that's what decided to make them move after 23 years?
I think they absolutely got more than one letter.
Yeah, I do too. I really do too. Because just all of a sudden, 23
and I wish
years,
I knew
you're moving.
What their letter said.
Yeah, I don't know. I did look. I tried to figure that out too. And it wasn't clear. But
I am going to be dreaming about this case.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I love it.
And so then now I think they're just still renting it out. But I bet after a while, even that gets scary. Like, how many letters are we going to hand over to? That last letter was pretty mean.
Yeah.
Violent winds and bitter cold to the vile and spiteful Derek and his wench of a wife, Maria.
Someone got really into Poe.
I know, I was thinking.
Yeah, it's very bricking someone into their basement.
You wonder who the watcher is. Turn around, you idiots. Maybe you even spoke to me, one of the so-called neighbors who has no idea who the watcher could be. That's some mental mindfuck right there.
Even spoke to me. Who had no idea. Is this written in like poetic form? Almost
No,
in
it's
like
letter.
with appropriate meter? I know, but it almost feels poetic. I don't know. I'm just
This
getting a Raven
this
vibe
last
from
one
it.
did for sure. The other ones were more, it creeped
They're
me
flowery
out.
though.
This one, like the telescopes and binoculars are wonderful inventions, and 657 survived your attempted assault, and it just like all these things like. I know what you're doing inside this house.
The personification of the house in these letters, and just, I don't know if this clearly they're crazy, but I don't know if this person is actually mentally ill or has got something whole different going on. The whole thing's just
Maybe there's a 90-year-old bored woman.
You have stumped me, but I do have hashtag goals.
Yeah, right.
When
And
I'm
now-
a 90-year-old woman.
Yep.
If one of my neighbors nearby starts getting poetically, grammatically correct letters that appear to be from a different era, it could be me.
It's just you. It is just you. Yeah, that's that.
And I also
I'm sorry, I don't
will
have a
wear
conclusion.
gloves and I won't lick the envelope.
Right. Yeah. That's the one thing. I'm like, okay, so we can tell that it is from a woman, and that is it. Yeah.
That narrows it down to 60% of the population.
Oh, crazy woman. That just made it get bigger.
I don't know why you're being so judgy right now.
Do you want a brain bath?
Oh, please, bathe me.
Okay. I found a funny Amazon review about this gigantic, it's called the Beach Behemoth Giant Inflatable 12-foot pole-to-pole beach ball.
I
So
know.
coastal.
I know this story. Please read it. I love
That's a gigantic ball.
It
by the
is
way.
ridiculous. It's like the size of a shed.
It is, yes.
Excuse me.
For context, it really
Yeah,
is
it'd be like
the
standing next
size of
to
a
your
small building.
Pool shed,
right.
she shed,
Yes.
where you would park your lawnmower and put your rakes.
Yes,
one of those.
One of those. All right. Out of the 5 stars, this particular person, Reed Hamlin, just gave it a 2-star and said, a fun way to ruin a weekend and blow $100.
Okay.
He said, we took this ball to the beach, and after close to 2 hours to pump it up, we pushed it around for about 10 fun-filled minutes. That was when the wind picked up and sent it hurtling down the beach at 40 knots. It destroyed everything in its path. Children screamed in terror at the giant inflatable monster that crushed their sandcastles. Grown men were knocked down trying to save their families. The faster we chased it, the faster it rolled. It was like it was mocking us. Eventually, we had to stop running because its path of injury and destruction was going to cost us a fortune in legal fees. Rumor has it...
Run away. Run away.
Yep, not ours, not it. Rumor has it can still be seen stalking innocent families on the Florida Panhandle. We lost it in South Carolina, so there's something to be said about its durability.
I love it.
Loved that one.
I love Amazon reviews anyway.
Me too.
But
me
that
too.
is an excessively large, overcompensating kind of a beach beach toy.
I agree.
You're making a statement if you bring that to the beach, gentlemen, and it definitely isn't the one you want to be making.
Sure isn't.
No.
No. And your wife is just next to you shaking her head.
Yeah, not it. Not mine. Neither's the ball.
No, right. Exactly. Or these idiots trying to play with it.
Yeah, I'm out.
Oh, God.
I'm going back to the condo pool now. You guys have fun with that. So
Good luck.
Good
luck. And where are you folding it up after you try to deflate it as well and putting it?
apparently, like in the back of your expedition, because that's the only place folded.
And then the family has to take an Uber back because there's no room
First
for
of all,
anything
you
else?
could legitimately use that to camp in.
You could.
You could make it into a round tent.
You could. Yeah. It's
Or-
gigantic.
It's bigger than those hamster balls that you see people get into and then play like those stupid Olympic game things with.
It is large. It does appear larger than that.
You
Unless
fit 2 people in it and call it the makeup ball.
the makeup
Y'all about to
ball.
be real close.
Yep.
You're not going to have any problems after that other than mild concussions.
For sure. Little bumps and bruises, possibly. Yeah. Well, anyway. Well, great to have you back. Great to have me back. Great to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in a happy place
Me
right
too.
now.
This was amazing.
My anxiety is gone. My soul feels better.
Mine too.
Did you start to get to feel some anxiety like you were missing something?
Yes. Yes.
I
don't like the change in routine like that.
No, not coming in, not recording. It was just starting to kind of just bubble up a little bit.
This really does. We put so much joy and enthusiasm into this that's what we receive back from it. And
clearly some of you, we know lots of you. We appreciate all of the well wishes and I answered, just so you know, I'm sure Charnell will read all of these at some point in time, but I answered a ton of stuff for you.
Yes, thank you.
On the messages and stuff, and you had so many people reach out and were concerned. And I would just like to say that I actually laid eyes on the husband. Yes. I saw Matt, and he's doing great. He looks a little skinny. Yeah, and he's a skinny fella anyway.
Yeah, we got to put some weights on.
So yeah, you should put on a few too. The stress will do that too. But he clearly was on more of a medically induced diet.
That's for sure. The feeding tube will do that to you for a while.
But he was making sense, talking and everything. He's doing really good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, hopefully that
proof
keeps
of life.
up.
I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to see you. He's like, I'm glad to be here.
Right. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
that too.
Super glad to be on this side of the earth. Thank ya. Yep, absolutely. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. My goodness, Hacky. You okay?
I swallowed my own spit.
Sure.
I choked on it.
Have another Jack.
Don't even say anything. I haven't even had a drink.
I know.
There's so many dicks in front of me. I choked.
Yep, that's how we're ending today's episode.
Until next time, y'all.
Hope you keep it curious.
Keep listening.
Bye-bye. No choking.